Good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be, or good evening, or good night. This is Jen at Jen's Arty Inclinations, a place to create, share, and play.
Hello everyone. So recently I did these super simple layered ink backgrounds, and today I'm going to show you one of the things that you can do with them, and I'm just making some little journal tags. Now, when I cut it at first, I cut it the wrong width because the little chomper that I'm using to make my tag tops needs to be 2.5 inches wide, not 3, which is what I was doing. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I decided that I'd use this to top them and then just round the bottom corners. But you can simply just cut the corners off and you've got a tag. I just thought I'd, try something a bit fancy schmancy. So there you go. You've already got some fantastic backgrounds. Now, remember, I did these layered backgrounds on a light cardstock, so they do have some substance to them. Anyway, on the backs, we didn't do the backs, but they just picked up some of the drips from the inks and some of the, wet splodges. So I'm leaving them as is. And I want to just do a little strip across the bottom. And this is the easiest way to do it. I just did it 3 at a time, did a bit of ink stamping, and then I did actually blend across the same colour across the background. I use this a lot for, borders and little treatments like this. And that way, I don't know, I just like the look. I was going to say it lifts it off the page or something, but really it's as simple as I like the look. So the first lot I did the text going up and down. The next lot I did it going across. This actual, script stamp, it was something that, gosh, I think I picked up off eBay maybe quite a few years back now. And it was something like $1 or $2, and I thought, hey, can't go wrong. And I actually use it a lot. Anyway, same thing on these, just blending some ink into the background just to have that lovely little strip across the bottom. So the idea is people can journal on the back, but just adding a little touch of something sometimes just gives it an indication that you can do something with that side. So there you are. There's the little fronts of them all together. And, I didn't think about where I was cutting, and that's why I did those non-directional stamps in the background. And you can see those stamps in the background are super, super subtle. Right, now, for these ones, I am just doing a simple stamp on the fronts. So I'm making them not over the top, it's not high contrast. So the stamp, I'm just using walnut stain, and that is one of the colours that I used in the background. So these can now, but I should just add in there. So if you stamp, for instance, with a black or a grey, then you can just make a tag with a feature stamp and Bob's your uncle. It's all done. And, I don't really have an Uncle Bob. I wish I did, but hang on, I did have an Uncle Bob. He was a family friend. There you go. Anyhow, I just did that little sewing mannequin as sort of the main little feature, printed it on different parts of the page, and then this little sewing stamp, it's like a sewing case stamp, I popped that going off the edge across on some of them as well. So there you are. You could complete these right now as is. And I'm just showing you the fronts and the backs, or you could pop them away for bases that you can embellish later. This is just to give you an idea of how your inky backgrounds, or any backgrounds that you play with, maybe you play with your jelly plates or something like that, that you can go on to create something with. Now, this cardstock was nice and light, so I could fold it. So for the last 3, I had a different length of offcut, so I decided, actually, and I did have 4 lengths of offcut out of the 2 sheets. It's just that the 4th one I mucked up before this and it just didn't work out. So, and I changed my mind completely about what I wanted to do. So I decided that I'd double them over, and then I've got a nice front and back that's the same. I decided that I would trim them down to 2 inches because I wanted them to have different toppers. So I wanted them to just have that. It felt like, I don't know, the proportions felt right for me for that size of tag, to have them a little bit narrower. But you obviously wouldn't need to do that. Now, when I'm folding them in half, I'm gluing the whole sheet. So I'm covering the whole thing with glue stick. You will find that your glue stick will always last longer if you put it under weight. So press it in a book press, put it under a load of heavy books, get a brick covered in wrapping paper like I do, and put that on top, and you will find it will just help laminate them together. So the next two, I did them with the wide ones and didn't like that. So I just trimmed down the edges to make them 2 inches as well. So, playing about. I was trying to be conservative, to use every piece of the papers. And, that was my idea. I was going to be really, really clever and show you how to get an exact amount out of the paper. And, I changed it halfway through because I wanted to change the look of it. So I'm just adding a little bit of text stamping into the backgrounds. I'm kind of looking here and thinking that one side is more of a back of these and one side seems more of a front for each of them, which is quite interesting. And just playing with stamps for these particular ones. Now, what I do at the end is I run them through the sewing machine, and I do think that gives them a nice finish. However, you don't need to do that. Here I used a slightly different stamp, and I'm trying not to, I'm not being too precise about how I'm stamping to make sure that I get a full imprint, because I do want them to kind of go a bit blendy off into the background. I love this little pair of scissors. No idea where I got that particular set from, but it's really cute. It's got even got, what do you call them? Safety pins and needles and things like that in this particular little sewing stamp set. It's really cute. So then I decided that I would have a nice big piece in the middle of each of those. So there's a little mason jar, there's a cotton reel thread, and the other one is a bobbin card. I just really loved the look of those. So just doing a little bit more subtle on the back with the little pair of scissors, just to kind of pull them all together. And what I did too, by the way, was I did ink around the edges of all of these. I found that just did give them a bit of a nice finish. And then I just put some text. So I've got these locked together letters, and I had them already there saying time, and I went, that'll do. So I just randomly put that around. I did do that in a slightly darker ink, pumice stone I think it was, or frayed burlap, one or the other. And you do notice when you see them in person, you do notice a slight contrast. And then on the taller ones that we did before with the mannequin, I did those with numbers, just little random numbers in exactly the same way. All right, and then to finish them off, I did some little hole reinforcers on the front and back. This is just a sheet of white hole reinforcers that you can get from the $2 shop or the newsagent. Even the supermarket sometimes stock these. You get them in, lots of sheets, and they're all sticky, so they can just go down as is. And all I do is I stamp over them or I ink them. These ones I've inked at some point. And, anything really. I've done them with like text stamps, all sorts of different things. So they just added some nice contrast, and I liked the look of those on the top and on the bottom. So now let's have a quick look through at all of them, and you can just see them. Here they are, as is. They can be finished at this point. Now, I know they're subtle, but we often need subtle journaling cards because we may have a wonderful, colourful page or a busy page with lots of texture, or a pocket where it's easier to add the decoration on the pocket. So I don't mind a bit of a subtle card. Now here, I've run them all through the sewing machine, and I just did a big long sewing thread all down one side. I find that easier. It's, hard sometimes to go around actual tag journal cards like this with a fancy top. So I just did them all down one side. I think I tried one all the way around, but the others I just put them all down. That gives a nice bit of extra stability to all of them. So you can see I've got the sewing on the front and on the back. It's a contrast thread, but you could actually do it. It looks really cool sometimes, like if you do a black on, the brown pages and so forth, because then you can really see your sewing. And on the little ones, I just did a line of sewing across the bottom on those ones. So there you are, all finished, all done, almost. The other thing you can do is, once you've done all your playing, you can emboss them after. Now, this did lots of deep embossing. I could certainly cut another piece of something like coffee dyed paper to stick over the back so that you could have a nice smooth journaling space. I just put it through again with just the plain plates just to press the embossing down a bit, and you can still write on that. And then another way is, if you want to conserve a little bit of a writing space, well, just emboss down one edge. And then when it comes out, you've got that lovely embossed edge on it. It gives it, again, oddly, another bit of stability. So there you are, all done. Just one of the things that we can do with our inky backgrounds. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. You take care. I'd love it if you could leave me a comment below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed what you saw today. And of course, please subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you next time. And in the meantime, keep creating. Enjoy.